Welcome back to Milan Recording Studios. My name is James Pavel Chakras, and in today's video on the table here we have something very exciting. As you can see, this is a pair of microphones, but it's not just any microphones. While there are many good microphones out there on the market, and some would even be great, Neumann is undeniably an industry leader, and when you want to buy a high-quality microphone, a very obvious choice in the high-end market is the U87 Ai. These originally came out in 1967, but the pair we have here today is basically brand new. So what we're going to be doing is unboxing these and showing them to you in today's video. But first, I wanted to show you Neumann's website and just talk a little bit more about the U87 and show you what they say about them on their website. So let's go check that out. So here is the U87 Ai stereo set on Neumann's website. They have a really nice website, by the way. I just wanted to say that. I mean, of course they do. It says the ultimate studio standard all over the world for 50 years. I'm not going to read every single line of text in here because this would make this segment very long, but there is some cool things I wanted to talk about. First of all, it comes in a few different colors and variants, and I like colors, so it's kind of cool. You can get it in like kind of a black matte finish, or you can get it in the nickel colored. I got it in the nickel color, as you could see earlier. I think that looks a little bit more standard. But the black by no means looks bad. It does look pretty cool, as you can see. I just prefer the nickel. That's my personal taste. So let's go back to the stereo set, which is what we have. There you go. Basically, it's the ultimate microphone. That's what Neumann says. Of course, every microphone company will tell you that their mic is best, but honestly, it's true with Neumann. Right here, they give you a little bit of the history of the U87. Introduced in 1967, it has shaped the sound of countless hit records for the past 50 years. And when those hits were announced on the radio, many a DJ sat before a U87 Ai. It also says, to this day, no professional recording studio is complete without a Neumann U87 Ai. And now we have two of them, so we're one step closer to becoming complete. But frankly, I don't know that we ever really will be complete. For example, Abbey Road Studios has over 800 microphones, and many recording studios, Abbey Road included, will spend way more money on mics alone than any of their instruments. In fact, all their instruments combined probably won't cost as much as the mics. Mics are not cheap, especially good ones. And the U87s are certainly very, very good ones. One thing that I really like about them, first of all, of course, is their sound quality, which we will check out later on in the video. But one really cool thing about them is they are incredibly versatile. They're really, really amazing for vocal recordings down here. It says the ultimate vocal microphone praised by singers and engineers alike, as well as the prime choice for speech applications such as voiceover, dubbing, and audiobooks. When I get maybe a couple more of these, or just keep reusing these ones, you might be seeing my videos, my actual like reviews on the Piano Forever channel being recorded with U87s, which would be really cool. Also, it says due to its balanced response in each of its three directional patterns, the U87 Ai is also a versatile microphone for anything from acoustic guitar to drums overhead. This is why Abbey Road has like 8 or 10, if not more, U87s, because they work for just about everything. In addition to that, it also has a good bass response and excellent mid-range detail, so it's often seen in front of bass and guitar cabinets. And not only that, it can also be used for recording soloists in classical recordings, such as cello, and of course, also in classical music and basically every genre ever that includes the piano, you can also record the piano with it. And this is what many people use them for, and this is honestly what I'm most excited for using the U87 for. I've been getting good results with my current mic setup on my concert grand, but what happens if we put a couple of U87s next to it? There's a few different kind of thought processes on how you should record the piano. One of the oldest and one of the most popular, and one I've seen people get the best results with online, is the Blumlein stereo pair, and we'll be checking that out later on in the video, and it works best with a pair of Neumann U87s, which is, of course, one reason we've got this. It has 3 different polar patterns. You can do omnidirectional, you can do cardioid, or you can do the figure 8 pattern. You can also have a switchable low cut and a pad on the mic as well. And it has very low self-noise, which is excellent. It has an accurate warm sound, and I'm just super excited to check this out. So let's leave their website now, and let's go check out the actual unboxing, and then after that, we will go test these out on the piano and see what results we get. So here we are back in the workroom at Milan Recording Studios, and we're going to unbox the Neumann U87 Ai stereo set. It just came in the mail, and I'm super, super excited. One crazy thing that I think is absolutely odd is that it literally says right on the outside of the box, U87 Ai stereo set. So anyone who reads that will know exactly what is in here. And as some of you may know, these mics are quite desirable. So I find that interesting. But nonetheless, that was pretty easy to open up. Here is the box. It's a metal box, interestingly enough. There you go. You can see a little bit of it. I'll show you a better close-up of it later. It's got some plastic on the outside of it. So I got it out of the box. It was a bit of a tight fit, so I clipped some of it out of the video. But here is the entire box for the U87 Ai stereo pair. It's got this little protective plasticky thing on it. I'm going to get that off, just like so. And we're just going to take that off. There we go. Get that out of here. Get that off. And there is the crate for the U87. If we flip it up like this, you can see it has a big, beautiful Neumann badge on the side of it, which is actually the top of it. And then, if I rotate it this way, this should be the top, just like so. And then we can open it up. Whoa, those latches are very nice. And then there it is. Just like we saw on the website, the U87 Ai stereo pair. You got two microphones underneath this little envelope, which probably just has like a quick guide or something in there. I don't think you guys could really see the inside of the box too well, so I figured I'd show you a closer up view of it right now. As you can see, the inside of the box looks identical to what we already saw on the Neumann website, with the exception of the protective plastic around the shock mounts and the microphones themselves. We also have a couple of little protective baggies for the microphones themselves after we get the plastic sheets off, which will be pretty nice. Let's take a look at one of these microphones, take it out of the bag, and just inspect it up a little bit closer. There's convenient little finger holes along the side of the microphone slot, so you can get it out nice and easily. If we slide this out of the protective baggie, we now have a U87 microphone right here. The feel of it is absolutely premium. The appearance is absolutely gorgeous. On the back side here, we have a couple of switches for the pad and the low cut. And on the front here, we have a selective switch for the 3 different polar patterns. On the right here, we have the figure 8 style. In the middle, we have the, if I can get it to move, we have the cardioid. And then on the left, we have, if it moves, it's a little stiff, we have the omnidirectional. So those are your 3 different polar patterns for recording different types of things. With the Blumlein Technique, you want the figure 8 pattern, and we'll talk more about that in a little bit, but that's really great that this has that. Down here is the serial number, and this one over here has a serial number of 1466874, and this one is identical except the 4 is a 5. So they have almost, they have sequential serial numbers, which is why they are a stereo matched pair, and that is the appearance of the U87. So there you go. That's just a quick look at it. Really cool looking microphone. Let's take it out into the studio and check out how they sound. So here is the mic setup that I'm going to try out for today's audio test, and this is known as a Blumlein Technique. I'm going to talk more about the Blumlein Technique in a little bit here, but first I wanted to talk about a couple of simple observations you may be making about the mic placement. One of those is the fact that the vertical axis that we have the mics aligned to is actually not truly vertical. It's kind of tilted back a little bit, and you may be seeing that. My theory on this is that I don't want to only capture sound coming directly from the piano. There's a few different trains of thought processes about recording the piano, and some people even remove the lid entirely from the piano. But I wanted to try to capture sound not only coming from the piano, but also bouncing off of the lid, which maybe will give us a little bit more of a 3-dimensional sound. When someone else is playing the piano and you stand right here, the sound is incredibly impressive, incredibly, what's the word I'm looking for? It's immersive. The sound is really immersive. It just wraps all the way around you. And I'm hoping to get that same kind of sound with these microphones being placed here. And the reason I have them angled up, like I said, is to capture some of the sound bouncing off of the lid. As I said, there's many different thought processes and schools of thought about how a piano should be recorded, and there is really no true single way to record a piano. Everyone does it differently. Many people get good results with doing different mic techniques, but I wanted to try out the Blumlein technique. It's a very popular one. It's been around for a very, very long time, and it's a very good sounding technique from everything I know. So we'll try it out here and see how it goes. The other thing I wanted to talk about before I mention the Blumlein technique too much more is the actual location of the mics in relation to the piano. You'll notice that they're right here along the rim, where the rim actually kind of begins to curve inwards. Beyond down here, it straightens out on a concert grand, and then right in here is where it curves in. This is where I've noticed that most pianos really, really love to be recorded. The only exception to that is a Busenderfer 280 VC, which likes to be recorded over the bass strings. It sounds a little bit bright and harsh over here. Basically every other piano in existence I have found really likes to be recorded from this spot, certainly when you're talking about grands. So that's why I've decided to place the Blumlein mics, the Neumann mics in the Blumlein Technique right around here. And if you watch other videos about the Blumlein Technique and you listen to professional people recording the piano, a lot of the times they will put the mics right here. Again, many different schools of thoughts. Abbey Road Studios uses U87s in a vastly different scenario. They'll have like 4 of them without the shock mounts all over the piano with the lid removed, and they get amazing results doing that. I'm going to try out the Blumlein Technique and see how that goes. Now, I've been saying Blumlein Technique all this whole time, and you might be wondering, what on earth is this? So let me explain this to you a little bit. The Blumlein Technique is basically a method of achieving a stereo effect with using 2 microphones. You want to have the microphones on the figure 8 polar pattern, which of course is what we have, and that basically means that on either side of the microphone here, you're going to have essentially 2 large like spheres that are going to be capturing sound. There's different types of polar patterns. You have the omnidirectional, where the mic is capturing sound evenly around all different sides. You have the cardioid, where the mic isn't capturing as much sound from the back as it is the front. And then you have the figure 8, where it's not capturing very much sound from the sides, but it's capturing an even amount on either side of the front and the back of the mic. So both of these Neumann U87s are in the figure 8 polar pattern. So basically this mic here is capturing audio on this side of it and on this side of it, whereas this mic is capturing the audio coming in from this side of the mic and coming in from this side of the mic. You also want to pan one of the mics hard left and pan one of the mics hard right to truly achieve the stereo sound, and that is essentially all there is. After that, you just have mic placement in relation to your instrument. As I said, there's many different schools of thought, but in the past, I've had great luck with recording the piano from here, so we're going to try that in today's video. That's about everything that there really is to say about the Blumlein Technique. It's remarkably simple. It was invented by a man named Alan Blumlein, who actually worked for EMI and used the first Blumlein techniques in Abbey Road Studios, which is kind of interesting. And you also, one thing I forgot to mention is you want the mics to be at a 90-degree angle to each other. So if you look at like the flat part of the mic here, that one is going this way, and the other mic is going this way. So you want the mics to be at a 90-degree angle to each other. That will also achieve the stereo effect, because again, one figure 8 pattern is going this way, the other figure 8 pattern is going this way. Pan them hard left and right, and you will get the stereo sound. My goal here is to have the bass end of the piano, the bass notes, be in the left ear, and the treble notes be in the right ear, kind of almost like a binaural type of a sound, sort of that same idea. Hopefully I achieved that. Do let me know if I in fact did. We'll check it out in a little bit here and see how it goes. I do advise listening to this on nice headphones or nice computer speakers, though. If you listen to this on your iPhone, it probably will sound decent. It'll sound like a piano, but honestly, great mics don't really matter at all when they're being listened to through poor speakers. The final thing I wanted to touch on is the shock mounts here, which are meant to prevent the microphone from, well, shocks. If the mic stand gets bumped, the microphone will be a little bit protected, but what it really does is it helps isolate floor noises. Like if somebody's bumping on the floor and it's creating vibrations, those vibrations won't be as likely to travel up the mic stand and into the microphone. So it helps to isolate the microphone. It becomes free-floating in space, and basically that will isolate noise. Now, when recording a piano, you can use the shock mounts, you can't use the shock mounts. It doesn't really matter. I decided to use them here just partly because they look cool and because it doesn't hurt. But as I said, Abbey Road Studios, when they mic their Steinway D, I believe it's Hamburg D, they use like 4 different U87s without the shock mounts all across the whole piano, and then sometimes they'll have 2 up front for the vocalist. So it just really doesn't matter for pianos, from my experience, whether you do or don't use the shock mounts. I just did for this video. So at long last, let's take a listen to how this sounds here. I'm going to play Clair de Lune for a few different reasons. One, it's a great piano test piece because it uses basically the entire range of the piano. So we'll get to listen to how the extreme high treble sounds and the extreme low bass. I'm also going to play it because it's a fan favorite, and everyone seems to love listening to me play it on YouTube. So we're going to do that. Let's check out how Clair de Lune sounds on the concert grand here at Milan Recording Studios, being recorded with Neumann U87 AI microphones in the Blumlein stereo pair. Okay, wait, hang on. There's actually one more thing I want to talk about, and that is the audio chain, because I get this question a lot, and that question is, how do you record your piano? Well, since I'm on the Milan Recording Studios channel, I figured I'd talk a little bit more in detail about the audio chain. We've already talked about these mics, the U87 AIs, so basically these mics are then running, after the signal goes into the mic, the signal is then running into a Sennheiser vintage, I believe it's from the 70s, phantom power supply. And this is like an inline phantom power supply. Why is that in there? In fact, why is this even in the audio chain? Well, the reason it's there is because I want to run these into a pair of vintage Ampex preamps made, powered by tubes from the late 50s. And the reason I want to use those is because they have a beautiful warm sound, but the catch is they don't have phantom power. So to be able to use these mics with that, we actually have to use a inline power supply. It has to be vintage because the old preamps have pin 3 hot. Newer equipment has pin 2 hot, so it won't work very well. So you actually have to use either a phase inverter, which we do have and does work, but I like the sound and also just the build quality and the knowledge that this Sennheiser power supply will basically never fail on me. So I'm using a vintage Sennheiser power supply to apply phantom power to these mics. From that Sennheiser power supply, like I said, it's running into the Ampex stereo pair of tube preamps, which sound gorgeous, especially for voice, but also for piano. And then from there, it's going into our mixer and then being recorded and digitally processed so you guys can hear it. That is everything. There's no EQ on the mixer, none of that. This is just all completely raw. The only effects there would be the natural effects of the tube preamp. So that is the audio chain. That's how this is being recorded. And without any further ado, let's listen to Clair de Lune at last. So, I don't know about you guys, but I'm incredibly impressed with that audio quality. The sound of the bass, the sound of the treble, the way the bass is kind of off to the left mostly, and the treble is mostly off to the right, that is exactly what I had hoped for, and this has delivered everything I wanted, and honestly even more. It's honestly true. Everything Neumann wrote on their website is so true about these mics. They have an incredible dynamic response. They capture the low bass. They capture the high treble. It's just so incredible. And the Blumlein Technique, of course, is also incredible, and that's part of the reason that this sounded as good as it does. I'm still blown away by how immersive it was. It is. It's just so good. So amazing. So I'm incredibly happy with these U87s. There's a reason that they have become, and that they have been, the staple in recording studios since the late 60s. They're incredible microphones. This is an incredible way to use them, and they do an amazing job at recording the piano. According to Neumann, they can record many other things as well, drum sets and other instruments and string quartets and voices, and obviously they do voices. But we're going to take a look more into that in the future at Milan Recording Studios. I might be having the opportunity here in the future to be recording new upcoming talent who will probably be playing not only piano but all sorts of other instruments too. So we'll be using these Neumann U87s and probably the Blumlein Technique a lot as well to record these instruments, to record the piano, to record vocals, to record what other instruments there may be as well, to test all this out, and you're going to be seeing more of that on this channel in the future. So definitely, if you're interested, if you're new here, if you're not already subscribed, you definitely might want to think about subscribing to Milan Recording Studios to hear these beautiful, incredible, amazing U87s in action. They are everything I had possibly dreamed them to be. Sometimes you get a thing, a product that is heavily hyped, and sometimes it doesn't live up to its expectations. These lived up to their expectations and more. The hype is true. It is real. These are phenomenal microphones. I love them. I love them so much. I also love you guys a lot. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you all in the next video at Milan Recording Studios. Goodbye.